tonight on Elon Local News.
Nearly 2 weeks after being killed by a sheriff's deputy, friends and family remember Andrew Brown Jr. during his funeral. Tonight, a local protester demanding change and transparency in Elizabeth City joins us live.
Plus, as the school year comes to an end, why some student teachers are worried about heading into the workforce.
And one Elon student is bringing animals to after-school activities.
Those stories and more.
Elon Local News starts right now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Maeve Ashbrook.
And I'm Margaret Faust. There were some scattered storms today, but it is fairly nice weather outside right now.
Our Jenna Mandarioli joins us now with a first look at the forecast. Jenna?
Thanks, Maeve. Thanks, Margaret. This morning I went out around 11:40 and I definitely saw some really dark skies and a lot of rain, students using umbrellas, and there were actually tornado warnings about an hour away in Montgomery and Randolph counties. Then earlier I saw the sun peek out really strong, and now that I'm out here, it's pretty humid and cloudy. We might see some similar patterns to this later on this week, so I'll have more for you on that with our Phoenix 5-day forecast. Back to you in the studio.
Jenna, thank you. And National College Decision Day is when high school seniors commit to where they'll be spending the next 4 years. And as of Saturday, just over 1,600 incoming freshmen are planning to attend Elon this fall. According to Vice President for Enrollment Greg Zeiser, both of these numbers are ahead of last year's enrollment by 70 students. Admissions is 95% of the way to their goal for this year's class. Zeiser says transfer applications are running 16% ahead of last year. Since most transfer students cannot be considered for admission without evaluation of spring semester grades, Zeiser anticipates the number of transfer students to total 100. With on-campus tours modified, Zeiser told Elon News Network, quote, "Given the pandemic, campus visits were down significantly this year, so we are pleased with where we are at this time." Incoming freshman Derek Donato says he felt at home when he toured campus and is excited for classes to start in the fall.
I think deciding factor for me was when I went to go visit Elon, it was just such a welcoming environment. Like, it really, the biggest thing I was afraid about was the distance from home. And because I'm from upstate New York, so it's a 9-hour drive. But I just felt so welcomed.
Move-in day for the class of 2025 is scheduled for Friday, August 20th.
Today, the family of Andrew Brown Jr. gathered in Elizabeth City, North Carolina to remember his life. Brown, a black man, was killed 2 weeks ago by Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies trying to execute a search warrant. In the wake of his death, protesters have demanded more information about what led up to his death. Organizer of Occupy Graham, Christopher Loy, was in Elizabeth City this weekend fighting for change, and he joins us now live. Christopher, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here, Maeve. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So the first thing I want to know is, what was your reaction to the funeral, to Andrew Brown's funeral today, and how has it affected Occupy Graham's efforts?
Well, I was out in Elizabeth City yesterday with a great group of local activists who decided we were going to go out there and actually meet the Brown family. And it's an absolute tragedy what happened to Mr. Brown. He's another in a long string of police killings that happen too often in this nation.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Occupy Graham was asking for donations to help Elizabeth City protesters. How did that go, and how is Occupy Graham planning to continue supporting protesters in Elizabeth City in the future?
Well, we're planning on, right now there's no plans for any kind of solid action, but certainly a number of us are continuing to try to make it out there, and we invite everyone who's connected to Occupy Graham to also try to make the effort. Occupy Graham itself will be coordinating our message in the coming weeks around the actions in Elizabeth City. That includes poster boards, and anyone who's welcome to discuss the topic is more than welcome to join us. We meet every Wednesday and Saturday at 5:30 to 6.
And there are protests, the protests that are happening in Elizabeth City and elsewhere around the country surrounding police killings. But how are those events happening elsewhere affecting your efforts in Alamance County?
Well, it seems that the more that people of color are harassed in this nation, the more that Graham feels it personally. The amount of authoritarian pressure by Alamance County Sheriff's Department, by Graham Police Department, and to some extent by Burlington Police Department only seems to heighten when there's national news around another police killing. And Graham, as we have seen before, has been very affected by these authoritarian practices.
Yeah. What is Occupy Graham's ultimate goal here protesting in Graham?
So Occupy Graham originally emerged as a response to the January 6th insurrection. However, as time has progressed, we've expanded our message to present a larger liberal message and bring together a coalition to combat the authoritarian practices of our county officials and to try to make some kind of organized, consistent effort to overturn a number of the policies and behaviors that our county officials engage in.
And what can people look for from Occupy Graham in the coming weeks?
So in the coming weeks, we are going to continue, we're going to continue to meet every evening at 5:30 to 6 in downtown Graham. We're going to continue to put pressure consistently on the county officials. We're going to continue to push for that. The number one issue for a lot of people out there is, in fact, the statue. The Confederate statue that was erected by the United Daughters of the Confederacy is a driving force for a lot of activists in the community who feel a consistent atmosphere of hatred in downtown Graham.
Well, Christopher Loy, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yep, thank you for having me.
A new documentary called Unlearned is about the consequences of racism. It's centered at the Confederate Monument in Graham. Elon Law alum Sharia Burnett is interviewed in the documentary. She says every interview she has completed discusses a new event servicing the racism in the country, and she also discusses racism in Alamance County.
You would think 2021, it's over. On any given day, I can ride through Courthouse Square and they're having a whole rally moment over there in the corner with Confederate flags and ropes.
The clear message they continue to work on is that racism can be unlearned when local stories are heard.
Because I know the documentary is a lot. And I know to sit in one sitting and watch it can take you to a place that you're not ready for. But at the end of it, there is still hope.
The team plans on finishing and releasing the film by the end of 2021.
With graduation only 3 weeks away, the town of Elon is already preparing for visitors. Town manager Richard Roedner says the amount of visitors shouldn't cause concern for residents.
If you've got 6,200 students, if 25% of them are the graduating class, so you're probably about 1,600 seniors. I think that's right. 1,500 seniors, and if each of them has 2 or 3 people coming with them, that adds up, 4,000 or 5,000 people pretty quickly.
Physical distancing and masks are required indoors and outdoors during commencement despite the new mask policy. Roedner says the lower case numbers are contributing to why ceremonies are in person.
The proof, as they say, is in the pudding, and we've seen limited cases on campus this semester. We're seeing lower numbers countywide. They're pretty steady, but we're seeing much lower numbers than we were having, say, in January. Probably a third to a quarter of the number of cases we were having then.
According to Rodner, the biggest concern in previous years was a lack of parking during commencement week. And this year, the town of Elon Police and campus security are working together to direct traffic and manage crowds. Commencement ceremonies for undergraduate students are scheduled for May 21st.
This year, Elon SGA's Acorn Fund awarded 9 student-run businesses a total of $9,000. Our Andrew Zagari has the follow-up.
Elon senior Steve Hawthorne has seen his business grow beyond what he originally imagined, all from the help of the money he received.
It's really just been a crazy year, and I really wish that I had another year to really grow it here at Elon.
This year, the fund awarded Hawthorne's apparel company Good to See You with $1,100, an increase from last year's $600. Hawthorne says he is excited to invest the money into areas he wasn't able to prior to receiving the funds, like a marketing program.
I think some of that is going to incorporate, Google Analytics, Facebook ads. We also need to hire a graphic designer to do our next summer lines.
Businesses complete an application and interview process, and SGA awards the money based on how viable and feasible their ideas are.
We had a Shark Tank type pitch where we got to go and I got to pitch my idea to different people on the panel, different professors and students, and they ultimately decided a few weeks later to give me some funding.
Elon senior Matthew Mitten's clothing company Climate Change Apparel was awarded $2,000 this year and says he looks forward to expanding his presence as well.
I can invest in more sustainable products. I can buy things that I didn't have enough profits for before, but I was hoping to do, and so now it kind of gives me a little cushion, a little leeway to experiment, invest in the business, grow it further, and I'm really excited about that.
As graduation approaches for both Hawthorne and Mitten, they're thinking about their future business plans after leaving Elon.
I would love to bring on an Elon student as a partner or something to maybe work with the company once I graduate, but I also plan on continuing to run it myself.
Andrew Zagari, Elon Local News.
Both businesses will be at the Marketplace Under the Oaks event in downtown Elon this Friday, May 7th from 5 to 8. And coming up, women's lacrosse is headed to the CAA tournament.
Plus, coffee sales are going up heading into finals week.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Elon University Physical Plant is launching an apprenticeship program to fill needed critical skill trades within the department. Director of Building Trades at the Physical Plant, Tim Dangler, says they are starting this apprenticeship to train workers for the future.
We look at our workforce and it's aging fast, and that's kind of industry-wide. In the licensed trades, it's people who are older, usually white males. So we looked at how can we prepare for the future, because eventually these people will retire.
Each apprentice will be trained by a seasoned worker, and it will be self-paced. The university will also be providing classes at a community college or technical school. Dangler says the department is aiming to hire underrepresented groups.
So the people who make the least amount are usually our most diverse people. So we want to be able to create a atmosphere of inclusion and equity. So being able to bring some of those people up through education.
Dangler says they are accepting applications for the apprenticeship program for a carpenter and a locksmith on the Elon Human Resources website.
Over the weekend, Elon women's track and field won the CAA championship for the 3rd time. For more on the win, be sure to pick up a copy of this week's Pendulum on Wednesday. Now on to women's lacrosse. The Phoenix defeated William and Mary yesterday to finish their regular season with a 9-2 record. Head coach Josh Hexter believes that the team can beat anyone in the conference if they stay focused and play with energy.
Regardless of who we're matched up against, the expectation is we're going to compete like crazy and have some, because it's fun, right? And when we're really doing that and having fun with it, I think we're pretty tough to beat.
Senior Sarah Bauman says she is happy with how the team performed in the regular season and is looking forward to playing in the conference tournament.
I'm really excited. I think we're all really excited. We have had a good season this year, and with COVID and everything, we're just really grateful to still be playing. And yeah, I think just excited and ready for what's to come.
The Phoenix are the number 4 seed in the CAA tournament and will face Towson in the quarterfinals on Wednesday.
As this semester comes to an end, so does an unusual year for Elon's student teaching program. But as our Haley Phelps reports, some are feeling unprepared to enter the workforce.
In-person placements for student teachers at Elon is a graduation requirement, but the pandemic delayed how soon they entered the classroom this year. Junior Maya Tice, who's teaching in person at Williams High School, says she hasn't gotten as much experience as she would in a normal semester.
I've had a year of not being in the classroom at all, or like having any interaction with students. So for me, I feel like I'm super underprepared, and I go into like full-time student teaching next spring. So I'm really anxious in terms of like being a full-time teacher because I've only had 2 placements.
Sophomore Amanda Westel says she does feel prepared even though she missed out on in-person student teaching, and the virtual experience was helpful.
Almost an advantage of sorts from the people that graduated last year in the spring. They weren't prepared for virtual learning at all, and at least I've gotten to see it. And if this is something that I'm going to have to do in the future, I've at least taken classes where we've had to incorporate it into our curriculum.
Sophomore Abby Sarancino says she's fortunate to have an in-person placement. She also feels ready after working in a hybrid environment.
Flexibility and kind of going with what's being thrown at you is also going to be a part of teaching, whether it's a global pandemic that's coming at you or something a lot smaller scale.
Haley Phelps, Elon Local News.
The ALAMANCE Burlington school system held a meeting in April to revisit in-person learning, but it did not pass, and hybrid learning will continue for the rest of the semester.
Today started off with some rain, which later turned into sun and humidity. I'll let you know if this trend is here to stay after the break.
With finals next week, students need one thing: caffeine. Specifically, coffee. Owner of the Oak House, Phil Smith, says while he doesn't know the exact amount coffee sales go up, they definitely go up during finals week.
I mean, you can walk around and see that all the tables and chairs are full, and there's usually a line to the door, out the door. So it's just, you feel it.
Smith says being in the middle of downtown Elon helps his sales, especially during finals week before students leave campus.
I think we catch people coming in, walking down the sidewalk, coming from their wherever they live, but also, in breaks and things like that.
Finals begin Wednesday, May 13th and end the 18th.
Joining us now to look at the weather ahead is our Jenna Manderlioli, who is live on Citron Plaza with your Phoenix 5-day forecast.
Thank you. Now that I'm out here, it's definitely really cloudy, but also very humid. And we're gonna see some similar trends like this within our Phoenix 5-day forecast, which I have for you now. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we're gonna see some really hot temperatures and a lot of sun, but with potential for scattered thunderstorms and rain, pretty similar to today. On Thursday and Friday, this unpredictable weather is gonna settle down a little bit, and we're just gonna see some partly cloudy weather dipping into the low 70s. On Saturday, we'll see temperatures rise and that sun emerge a little bit more, going into the mid 70s. So definitely prepare for a very sunny, but also slightly rainy week here at Elon. Maeve, Margaret, back to you in the studio.
Jenna Manderlioli live on Citron Plaza for us this evening. Thank you.
What was once an after-school activity for one Elon senior is now a passion project for low-income students in Burlington. I talked with her to learn more about the program she's created and her partnership with the community.
Go, keep going, run it.
It's not homework teaching these kids life lessons.
And what was your favorite part? Getting them to turn their back feet.
Instead, it's Elon senior Katie Zink and her first love, horses.
I think they become better communicators, honestly, because, horses communicate with like nonverbal language, and so you're not talking to somebody, but your body language matters, like how you carry yourself matters.
Zink started the program in partnership with the Positive Attitude Youth Center in Burlington and Joyride Equestrian in Pittsboro last fall. She says it's something she always wanted to do.
I get such joy seeing the faces of the kids when they can be around the horses, and especially those who have never been around horses or who may have like this deep passion that they never knew about.
The program runs every Thursday night after school for 5 weeks, and Zink's already running her 3rd session.
They maybe approach the horses a little timidly the first week, and then maybe like a little too forcefully the second week, but by the 3rd week they kind of understand like how to nicely walk up to a horse.
Joyride Equestrian instructor El Kimsey says the process is rewarding.
So I've always wanted to do something that gave back to the community, and so when Katie approached me about this specific idea of partnering with this foundation, it was an easy yes.
And she says the kids leave with more self-confidence.
2 for each horse.
I want to be the one at the very back.
This past winter, Zink and Kimsey raised over $5,000 to keep the program free for students.
I just love Alamance County, and I really just want to be involved in the future of Alamance County, which is honestly these kids.
And as her graduation nears, Zink says she'll do everything she can to continue the program, even if it means not being there in person. And you can pick up a copy of this week's Pendulum to read more about the program. And still to come, Marriage PACT results are in. One student is taking the PACT name literally.
You're watching Elon Local News.
The Elon Marriage Pact is a questionnaire that was sent out to students to help them find their most compatible match on campus. And the results are in. Our Chloe Franklin has more.
Elon Jr., Emily Sledge, took the Marriage Pact literally. Before filling out the online form, Sledge was planning to throw a fake wedding as a date. But once the form came out, she was set on having her match in her wedding.
So my plan was to actually invite my Marriage Pact person to the wedding because I thought that would have been so funny, like a hilarious story. And so whenever he didn't respond to my email, I was like, oh, darn.
Even though her match was unsuccessful, Sledge still held a fake wedding with the guy she met on the dating app Bumble. She invited her friends to be a part of the ceremony.
And so I had somebody playing the father of the bride. One of my friends was my mother-in-law who does not approve of the marriage. We had an ex show up to the wedding uninvited.
And some students didn't take the pact to heart, but still enjoyed the results. Elon's sophomore, Andrea Coyne, thought she'd match with another girl, but was surprised to receive someone of the opposite gender.
Yeah, I think it was so funny. I think it was super silly, and yeah, I liked it.
Elon Jr., Edward Hill, says students wanted different things out of the pact.
Because they actually want to find a real connection, but they end up getting matched with someone who was just taking it either, just for fun or just to see who they get.
Coyne thinks it is too soon to tell if the form will change the dating scene at Elon, since there was not a very prominent one to begin with.
So I didn't know if there was much of one before, and I think it's too soon to know if this had any significant results or outcomes.
Chloe Franklin, Elon Local News.